Part 123. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 1221. For the people in the Abnormal Events Investigation Bureau, if they can save most people, even if a small number of people are sacrificed, they will execute it without hesitation. Zhao Hengxia looked at the brand new report of the strange story in her hand, took a deep breath, and a trace of solemnity appeared in her eyes. Maybe we can let him try this tofu brain strange story again. Another week passed in the blink of an eye. Lin Yi, who was browsing his phone and drinking black tea at his seat, raised his head. A guest walked in, and Zhao Hengxia, who was wearing a black suit and a pair of high heels, came to him. Sitting casually opposite him, Zhao Hengxia said calmly, "Hello, Mr. Lin Yi. It's been a while since I last saw you." Lin Yi smiled at her. "It's been a while since I last saw you. It seems like there's a new mission. Do you want me to do it?" Zhao Hengxia nodded slightly. "Yes, there's an urgent case in Furong City now. Our people found the source of the incident after several investigations. But this matter is very difficult to control, so I want you to solve it. The number of victims has reached 30, and the risk assessment is a sea-level ghost story, which is very dangerous." Lin Yi's eyes narrowed slightly when he heard this. Sea-level ghost stories have only appeared recently. "Yes, I wonder if you are interested." Lin Yi nodded slightly. "Of course I'm interested. Do you have any information? I want to take a look." Zhao Hengxia showed a faint smile on her face, took out a paper file from her briefcase, and placed it in front of Lin Yi. Lin Yi took the file, opened it, and began to read it carefully. This time the incident was named Murderous Tofu Brain. Looking at the name, Lin Yi showed a hint of interest in his eyes. After opening it, he began to read the contents of the case carefully. The contents were not complicated, but very simple. There was an old man who carried a shoulder pole and sold tofu pudding. As long as someone ate his tofu pudding, he would become very crazy and want to eat another bowl of tofu pudding. The old man would disappear after that, and people who had eaten tofu would not be able to stand the attraction of tofu pudding and would start to eat themselves. Finally, after death, the old man would mysteriously reappear and take out the things in his stomach that had turned into tofu pudding. These new things would be put into his shoulder pole barrel by the old man, become new ingredients, and then sold to other people to eat. The reason why this matter was rated as Class C was that every time this old man appeared, he was elusive and there was no pattern. So the harm he caused was very huge, and more than 30 people were killed in just 1 week. On average, 4 people were killed every day. If this continued, thousands of people might suffer in a year. And this number would continue to expand, so this case was directly classified as Class C. After reading the information, Lin Yi frowned slightly. "Can you explore the location where this incident occurred?" "Yes, but as before, when we arrive at the scene of the incident, it is usually about 10 minutes. During this time, it is very likely that someone will buy the old man's tofu pudding. Even if we notify the nearby police station to block the dangerous area, there will be times when we can't catch up. Of the 30 people killed this time, 27 were killed in the first few days. Only in the last 2 days did we sum up a set of methods to prevent others from buying in the first place. Avoided larger casualties. But resources are limited, and we can't always maintain this high-density alert. So we have to find a way to solve it." Lin Yi nodded when he heard this, and looked down at the file, which contained some other content, such as photo data analysis, etc. "From the current information, we can judge that this old man did not attack you when you stopped others from buying his tofu pudding. He didn't even have any extreme reaction and didn't even talk to you. So can we judge one thing? This old man himself is not aggressive. He follows his own rules. He is just a tofu pudding seller. Only those who eat his tofu pudding and self-destruct will be visited by him. That means we are safe in the process of contacting him, as long as we don't eat his tofu pudding. Secondly, can you find out the origin of this old man? I don't see any information on it. Zhao Hongxia shook her head slightly. No, okay, we have mobilized all the archives information in the country, and we have not found any content matching this person. It's as if he appeared out of thin air, and never left any trace in the archives. Lin Yi frowned. Then it can be inferred that this person is either an illegal resident. Something happened, so it became a strange story. Or, he was born in an era when there were no archives. He himself is not a strange story born in this era, but has existed a long time ago, and now it has appeared again. The information is incomplete, and it is unlikely to cut it off from the logical chain. So we can only take other methods. Thinking of this, Lin Yi smiled. In this case, I'm more interested. Let's make another attempt. Looking at the cold smile on Lin Yi's lips, Zhao Hongxia's heart was slightly cold, as if she had discovered a side of Lin Yi that was unknown to others. Lin Yi looked at Zhao Hongxia. Next, I will probably need a day to observe him carefully. Help me find him, and then take me to see him. Zhao Hongxia nodded slightly. Looking outside the French window, there was a black van parked there. Inside that car is our information concentration system, connected to a place. The detection system has been turned on, and the fluctuations of the murderous tofu brain ghost story have been recorded. As long as it is found, it can be located immediately, and then you can be taken there. Generally, he will appear at 12 o'clock every day, and there will be about 30 minutes before his next appearance. But there are exceptions, and he will appear at 9 o'clock in the evening. Lin Yi nodded when he heard it. That's good. Wait a little longer. At this time, Lin Yi already had an idea in his mind, another way to solve the ghost story. He felt more and more that the different ghost stories had different solutions, which required flexibility, but also required more powerful strength to be flexible. Now that his spiritual wave limit had increased, he had other possible options. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 1222. But this method still needs experiments to determine whether his theory is correct or not. It was 12 o'clock in a blink of an eye, and soon Zhao Hongxia received a call. Picking up the phone, he looked at Lin Yi. Let's go, he showed up. The two turned and left the Wanchaiwu and came to the van outside. Taiwan Novel Network rightward arrow dot. The van had already driven out quickly and headed for the target location. When they stopped, they had arrived at a dilapidated street in the north of the city. Stopping at the entrance of the street, Lin Yi and the others jumped out of the van. Zhao Hongxia stood beside him and looked at the end of the street, where there was an alley. At the intersection of the alley and the street, an old man was sitting there. In front of him was a shoulder pole and two pieces of wood. Some people looked at the street, but didn't see him at all, always passing by directly. Lin Yi's eyes narrowed slightly, and he remembered the contents of the file when he got it. Not everyone can see this old man, or this old man will emit a strange power that affects passers-by. Only some specific people will notice him. However, this power is very weak. If you realize his existence, it is easy to find him and will not be affected by this power. It is a bit similar to the ability of Lin Yi to move thatched houses, which can directly block all eyes. All the people attracted are of the same type, young girls about 10 or 17 or 8 years old. That is the best age in their lives, enjoying the best youth and time. Zhao Hongxia looked there and said calmly. That is the old man of the ghost story? Lin Yi looked from a distance, with a trace of thought in his eyes. Let's go, and take a look. Lin Yi and Zhao Hongxia came to the end of the street in a few steps, and they stood in front of the old man. Lin Yi looked down at the old man, and the light of the true destiny flashed in his eyes. A black line enveloped him, but the old man seemed to have no true destiny. Lin Yi's eyes narrowed slightly. No true destiny, but it was classified as sea level. That is to say, the ghost story with true destiny has no necessary relationship with the level of the ghost story. Thinking of this, a trace of thought appeared in his eyes. Lin Yi looked at the old man. Have a bowl of tofu brain. Hearing Lin Yi's voice, the old man slowly raised his head, but his face was not as kind as when facing those girls. On the contrary, it was very indifferent. 5 yuan a bowl. The old man did not refuse Lin Yi's request, but quickly started to get busy. Lin Yi looked at him quietly, wearing a blue zhongzhan suit, with wrinkles all over his face, gray hair and beard. His face was as cold as a stone, expressionless, and there was no spirit in his eyes, like a puppet. Lin Yi's heart moved slightly. Is this a mechanical type of ghost story? Among the 4 types of ghost stories he had come into contact with, Lin Yi clearly realized that there were also various differences in ghost stories. First, it is a completely rational story without any fluctuations in wisdom. The second is the story of Yamatagi, who has very strong emotional fluctuations. Maybe all this has something to do with the true destiny. Thinking of this, his eyes narrowed slightly, and he was thinking. Soon, a bowl of tofu pudding appeared in front of him. Lin Yi glanced at it casually. It was a mass of black lines. It was not a substance from beginning to end, but a concrete product of black lines. Lin Yi looked at the old man and handed him 5 yuan. Turning to look at Zhao Hongxia, notify your people to block this place and don't let anyone in. Let's take this thing back and check it. Maybe we can get some information. Zhao Hongxia was stunned for a moment, then nodded. But just when Lin Yi was about to leave with the bowl of tofu pudding, a figure blocked him, so abrupt and elusive. The old man looked at him coldly. Eat it. Seeing this scene, Lin Yi had a faint smile on his lips. His eyes fell on Zhao Hongxia. You leave first, I want to experiment. Zhao Hongxia nodded and said nothing more. Lin Yi in front of him had great magical powers. Since the other party said so, he just copied it. Zhao Hongxia quickly left here, and the old man ignored her, just looking at Lin Yi quietly. It seemed that he had no intention of letting him leave. Lin Yi looked at the tofu brain in his hand, and a hint of curiosity appeared in his eyes. He wanted to see how this thing worked. He ate it bite by bite. After eating, he put the bowl on the wooden barrel. He could feel that this thing disappeared after eating it, and it did not exist in his stomach. Instead, it turned into a black line that shuttled through his body. He vaguely felt an inexplicable desire, flickering in his heart. He wanted to eat another bowl, and a fierce expectation burst out from his heart. This expectation even broke through his reason, making his face solemn in an instant. At this moment, a strange smile appeared on the corner of the old man's mouth, and his mechanical and cold face showed a trace of ferocity. Then, he walked towards Lin Yi step by step, and he slowly stretched out his hands and grabbed Lin Yi. At this time, Lin Yi was trying his best to suppress his inner impulse, and his eyes noticed the strange behavior of the old man. But he did not stop it. This was a phenomenon that had never appeared in the information file Zhao Hongxia gave him. In other words, will non-target people have other reactions after eating tofu brain? He looked at the old man who was walking towards him, and a trace of ferocity appeared on his face. It's not that easy to kill me. The power of the boundless true destiny enveloped him, and the next moment his feet flashed, and when he appeared again, he had come to another street. At this time, the power of the true destiny and perseverance flashed, covering his whole body in an instant. His eyes flashed with the brilliance of the true destiny, and he saw the black lines running through his body at a glance. These lines affect his own spirit, and they are some kind of spiritual power. Covered in the light of the true destiny and perseverance, Lin Yi reached out his hand and grabbed inside his body. The power of the true destiny and perseverance surged and flashed, and instantly grabbed one of the black lines. Then he pulled hard, and the black line was pulled out of his body. Exposed to the air, these black lines twisted strangely, as if they had life. In Lin Yi's sight, these black lines leaked information one after another. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 1223. The latest chapter of the Wanchai I Created is updated the fastest. However, although there has been a change, the woman in red is still carrying a shoulder pole, which looks so weird and unreasonable. The yellow-haired young man quickly retreated at the moment of throwing the crystal ball, returned to Lao Fang's position, and took him away from here. Just as the woman in red completed the change, a young man walked into the alley. He looked about 20 years old. He was full of ruffian. It was 10 o'clock in the evening. This guy seemed to be an idle street urchin. He saw a woman carrying a shoulder pole, wearing a red dress, and with disheveled hair, standing quietly in the alley, with a hint of weirdness and vigilance in her eyes. Frowning, he did not make a fuss, but walked past the woman in red. At this moment, a hand covered with red nail polish stretched out from behind him. This hand grabbed his shoulder at once, and a voice that made him cold slowly sounded. Would you like to eat a bowl of tofu brain? The ruffian man froze all over, and a strange force bound him. He felt that he couldn't move at all, and the disheveled head behind him had come to his ear. A cold and terrifying voice slowly sounded in his ear. Would you like to have a bowl of tofu brain? The ruffian man was sweating all over, and he knew that he seemed to have encountered something unclean. He was about to cry, and fear hit his reason, making him tremble all over. No, I don't want to eat, let me go, let me go. Hearing his answer, the weird woman in red laughed regretfully. Hee, since you don't want to eat, let me eat you. After saying that, the woman in red slowly came to the man, took off her mask, and a face appeared in front of the man. What kind of face is this? The upper half is as beautiful as a girl, but the lower half is all bloody muscles, and there is a mouth that has been cracked to the corners of the eyes. The ruffian man looked at the monster woman in red who appeared in front of him and screamed in extreme fear. Ah, help, there's a ghost. A terrifying scream sounded in an instant, and in front of him, the mouth of the woman in red suddenly opened. It was a mouth full of teeth, and the chin of this mouth was still expanding rapidly. In a blink of an eye, the chin expanded to the size of another person. An unimaginable bloody mouth enveloped the man. Crunch, crunch, crunch. Strange sounds continued to sound, and the huge mouth slowly shrank while chewing. The man's body seemed to disappear in the other's body, incredible. In the end, everything returned to normal, and the huge mouth of the woman in red stopped chewing. The woman in red put on the mask again, her eyes were indifferent, and she slowly picked up the pole, walking in the alley like a ghost, and then suddenly disappeared in an instant. All this was so weird that anyone who saw the scene would probably shudder. Just as this weird woman left, Huang Mao and Lao Fang appeared here again, and they looked very surprised. The old man's face showed a trace of solemnity, so cruel, it seems to be combined with the ability to devour female ghost stories. It seems that ghost stories can really merge with each other, and the doctor's prediction is correct. The yellow-haired man showed a hint of joy on his face. Let's go, the things the doctor asked us to do have been done, and the next step is to wait quietly for the response of the Abnormal Events Investigation Bureau. I wonder what their expressions will be when they see this fused ghost story. It's really exciting. The old man showed a faint sneer on his face. I'm afraid they will be very nervous. After all, they claim to be a righteous organization. Hee, a strange and cold smile rose on the old man's face, and his eyes flashed with a trace of resentment and anger. Obviously, he and the Abnormal Events Investigation Bureau have a deep contradiction and a life and death feud. The yellow-haired man pulled the old man and disappeared here again. A few minutes later, a group of black-clothed Investigation Bureau personnel also came here. The blood left on the ground was quickly discovered by them, and the nearby surveillance was also mobilized. These agents were holding strange instruments in their hands and were exploring here. Another 3 days passed in a blink of an eye. Lin Yi rested in the Wanchaiwu for 3 days because the Abnormal Events Investigation Bureau had not notified him. This made him feel a little strange, as if something unexpected had happened. Someone finally came to see him today. Zhao Hengxia entered the Wanchaiwu with a serious face and sat in front of him. Zhao Hengxia was still wearing a black work uniform, a pair of flat shoes, and a briefcase in her hand. After coming here, she took out a document from the briefcase and placed it in front of Lin Yi. The current situation is a bit troublesome, take a look. Lin Yi showed a hint of surprise on his face, took the file and looked at it carefully. After looking at it for a while, he showed a hint of solemnity in his eyes. What's going on? Can the strange incident change? And such a big change? It's a bit unreasonable. Zhao Hengxia nodded slightly. We didn't believe it at first, but after careful observation, it did change. The only good thing is that this case is still classified as C-level, but it is more dangerous. Once exposed, death may occur. Originally, as long as you don't eat tofu brain, your survival rate is guaranteed, but now you will die even if you don't eat it. After a detailed discussion in the Bureau, we feel that someone has tampered with the situation and caused the mutation of the strange story. But I have no idea how exactly it is done. Lin Yi's face showed a hint of solemnity. What do you want me to do? Zhao Hengxia narrowed her eyes slightly. This matter is very special. What we are worried about is whether the person behind it has mastered the method to cause the mutation of strange stories. The weird incident itself is not that important anymore. I wonder, Mr. Lin, if you have any way to solve this strange incident. I don't know. I'm going to take a look again. Originally I had an idea, but the current situation has disrupted my plan. I am not sure whether the original idea will succeed. Hearing this, Zhao Hengxia frowned slightly and sighed. What the Bureau means is that if you can solve this matter, we can increase the reward you want. Lin Yi glanced at Zhao Hengxia and said, I think so, but I still have to wait until I see if it can be solved. Zhao Hengxia nodded slightly. When do you want to test it? The next time you show up. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 1224. Update the latest chapter of the Wanchaiwu View I created as soon as possible. Okay. Read. Another day passed in the blink of an eye. Zhao Hengxia had been staying in the store, and a black van specially responsible for transportation was parked outside. Suddenly, Zhao Hengxia's cell phone rang. Her eyes lit up slightly and she looked up at Lin Yi. It's here again, let's go. After saying that, the two left the Wanchaiwu View. About 10 minutes later, they came to a street 2 kilometers away. At this time, this street had been blocked for unknown reasons, and a large number of police officers appeared here to isolate everyone. Just listen to Zhao Hengxia say, our procedure is to communicate with the entire city. If there is a problem anywhere, the nearby police will receive the news as soon as possible and then block it. We generally take these bizarre incidents that move within city limits very seriously. This type of weird incident will generally not be initiated as long as you stay away from close contact. It will automatically disappear when the time is up, which can effectively avoid casualties. Lin Yi and Zhao Hengxia stepped out of the car. Zhao Hengxia showed her ID, passed through the blockade, and came to the deserted street. Their eyes fell on the joint between the street and an alley. A person wearing a red dress and squatting behind a pole appeared there. She looked so weird. Zhao Hengxia said solemnly, let's not get too close to her. The distance should be kept at 100 meters. Based on our observations over the past few days, once we get within 100 meters of her, she is likely to find her. But usually she won't do anything in public. There seems to be some special restrictions. She will select those who are very close to her, and once she wants to attack, she will drag them into the alley at an alarming speed. Even ordinary people cannot detect it. In the alleys, the chosen one will be devoured by her. However, some people will not do this. They would eat the tofu and go back home. Then he was found by this mysterious woman that night, devoured him and died. As Zhao Hongxia recounted, there was an unspeakable solemnity on her face. Lin Yi thought for a while and said, "I'll go over and test it out. No matter what happens, don't come close. Even if you see me dead, don't bother me, do you understand?" Zhao Hongxia was stunned for a moment when she heard this, and looked at Lin Yi in surprise, as if she was looking at something incredible. Lin Yi ignored Zhao Hongxia's surprised expression and stepped forward towards the entrance of the alley. The woman in red and her pole are about 1 meter from the entrance of the alley. Only people passing by would notice her, and she wouldn't be visible from a little further away. Soon Lin Yi came to her and listened to him speak slowly. "How much does a bowl of tofu puff cost?" The woman in red slowly raised her head, revealing a pair of beautiful big eyes and the upper part of her face. A pair of black eyes looked at him. 5 yuan a bowl, the clear voice echoed in his ears, making people feel good about it unconsciously. Lin Yi took out 5 yuan from his arms and handed it to the woman in red. The woman in red took the money, put it directly in her pocket, then opened the pole and started making tofu puffs with her white hands. A few minutes later, a bowl of fragrant tofu now appeared in Lin Yi's hands. Lin Yi looked at the tofu now, turned around and walked towards the alley. From the look of him, he didn't seem to intend to eat it immediately. Just when he took less than 2 steps, a hand with bright red nails placed on his shoulder. A cold voice sounded in his ears. "Eat it here." The cold voice was very strange, and a face had reached his left shoulder. Wearing a mask, he looked at Lin Yi sideways with his eyes. Lin Yi turned around and looked at these eyes. They were deep, dark eyes without any light, without any emotion, only pure coldness. Lin Yi's face froze slightly, and the light of true destiny flashed in his eyes. He saw the deepest part of this woman's mind. There is a deep whirlpool there, and the deepest part of the whirlpool is a true life, which is covered with strange black lines. At this time, these lines seemed to grow on the real life, surrounded by layers like blood vessels, constantly beating slightly. This scene looked so weird that Lin Yi had a hint of surprise on his face. A faint smile appeared on his face. "Okay." With that said, he picked up the tofu and started swallowing it in big gulps, swallowing it all in a few seconds. At this time, the woman in red let go of her hand and turned back to her stall. She bent down, picked up the pole and barrel, turned around and walked outside step by step. The next moment, she disappeared. In Lin Yi's eyes, the other party turned into countless black lines and disappeared into the air, leaving no trace. Seeing this scene, his eyes narrowed slightly. At this time, he was using the states of true life perseverance and true life boundless, and he was in this state when he swallowed the tofu brain. More than a dozen black lines in the body are constantly squirming, seeming to be searching for something. Lin Yi reached into his body with one hand, and in the next moment, he had already drawn out more than a dozen black lines. With a casual throw, these lines disappeared in front of him. "It's the same as when I was old. As long as I eat tofu, these black lines will invade my body. This has not changed, but when I was caught by her just now, the mysterious power was very scary. I can't move at all. If I didn't have a real life, I wouldn't even be able to turn my head. It seemed like I didn't have this ability last time. And this guy has an extra life in his body, which the old man doesn't have." Sure enough, Someone did something and integrated this true life into his body to trigger his mutation. Thinking of this, his expression became more solemn. It seems that the real life has not been discovered. It's that someone is using the power of Zhenming to create mutations in ghost stories. This method is really terrifying. Thinking of this, he turned around and walked out of the alley, walking towards Zhao Hengxia in the distance. Zhao Hengxia saw him coming out and quickly came over to greet him, asking with a serious face. "How's it going? Did you find anything just now?" Lin Yi thought for a while and said, "It has all the abilities of the original ghost story." Secondly, there was something more inside him. That's what mutated him. When Zhao Hengxia heard this, her expression changed. "What's extra?" Lin Yi looked at Zhao Hengxia and thought for a while, and finally decided to tell her. True life, the root item of all God-given abilities. The house of everything I created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 1225. The latest chapter of the Wanchai I created is updated the fastest. Zhao Hengxia's pupils shrank when she heard this, and she looked at Lin Yi in shock. Reading. Root item. You have known about the existence of this kind of thing for a long time. Looking at Zhao Hengxia, Lin Yi smiled faintly. I do know, but I am not the only one who knows. There are other people who know this thing. They are trying to use other people's true destiny to upgrade the strange events. It is even possible to use the true destiny to gain more abilities. I am afraid that your Abnormal Events Investigation Bureau is lagging behind. Zhao Hengxia was horrified when she heard this, and her pupils shrank slightly. The Doomsday Sect, except for them, no one dares to do this, and has the ability to do so. Lin Yi shrugged in disbelief. This strange event is very strange. If I want to crack it, someone may interfere. So what do you want to do? Nothing. Remember to call me next time you find him. Try to forcefully expel her and see if anyone will react. I am also interested in the Doomsday section. It is not easy to forcibly take away other people's true destiny. Maybe we can lead them out. Zhao Hengxia took a deep breath, and a trace of solemnity appeared in her eyes. I understand. Lin Yi returned to the Wanchaiwu, and today's strange incident made him see something again. There are people in this world who can find their true destiny, dig out their true destiny, and use it to do things. It seems that the water in this world is deeper than I thought. After Lin Yi came back, he sat in front of the French window, quietly thinking about everything that happened. At this time, in a secret base in Furong City, there were several people sitting here. Huang Mao and Lao Fang were among them, and there was a beautiful girl who looked about 10 years old with long hair. But she was wearing earrings and her face was full of smoky makeup, and she looked very punk and self-centered. There were more than 100 screens in the room, densely covering the walls. The girl sat in the middle, with a strange wave all over her body, connected to the signal line under these screens. With the help of the signal line, she seemed to be doing something. Countless pictures appeared on the screen, which seemed to cover every corner of Furong City. At this time, the three of them were looking at several of the screens. It was a picture of Lin Yi and the red-dressed ghost story woman. Lao Fang looked solemn, looking at Lin Yi in the picture and said slowly, "This person is very dangerous. According to our information, he has solved 3 ghost story incidents. Secondly, he may have several kinds of God-given abilities, each of which is quite powerful. Secondly, his identity is so clean that it is unbelievable, as if he suddenly possessed all kinds of abilities. Moreover, in the coffee shop he started, all the staff had no background, as if they appeared out of thin air. But those people seem to be just ordinary people, but they don't seem that simple. We can't figure out their details at present. It's just that they seem to have a deep unknown background. Jumper Qiaoan once tried to recruit him, but he refused directly. His original plan was to get rid of him if he failed to recruit him. This man's ability is really amazing. Even if Joan and the other two people attacked together, it was completely useless. In the end, they even fell into the sea because the plane was destroyed, but they were out of danger. I heard that there was a storm there. For ordinary people, even if they were God's ends, they would have died long ago. This man's danger has been adjusted to level up by the headquarters. Don't provoke him unless necessary. I didn't expect that he didn't die after contacting the number one experimental subject, Red Clothes. The old man said with a heavy face, full of disbelief. The punk girl on the side looked at the screen, and there seemed to be countless information flashing in her eyes. According to my analysis, he seems to have some ability to expel the power of Red Clothes from his body. So I judge that Red Clothes will not look for him tonight. According to the various information we have obtained so far, the power of ghost stories is almost inevitable. Only a few people have the ability to escape the influence of ghost stories. I have also investigated this person in detail, from the information about him found by the spies ambushed by the Abnormal Events Investigation Bureau. A lot of results have been analyzed. The first time he encountered the human skin grandmother incident, he was interrogated by the Abnormal Events Investigation Bureau because his blood appeared at the scene. Although it ended in vain, I can confirm one incident. This person should have died once, died at the hands of the human skin grandmother. Otherwise, there would be no so much blood left at the scene. That amount of blood would only flow out if a person was completely dead. Hearing the girl's words, Huang Mao and Lao Fang were both surprised. What? Resurrection from the dead, this ability also exists. This is the only possible explanation. You should all know the rules of the human skin grandmother. If you see her, you will be skinned to death. No matter what you do, it will be useless. So my judgment is that he died in the first human skin grandmother incident, but he was also reborn, which means that he does not have the ability to completely avoid strange events. During the negotiation and contact with Zhao Hongxia, he showed several abilities. The ability to break all matter, the ability to fly in the sky, and the ability to move at super high speed. When the jumper Qiaoan contacted him, he also brought two masters. One has the ability to wear away everything, and the other has the ability of mental control and hypnosis. But these abilities seem to have no effect on this Mr. Lin. This means that the other party has the ability to resist mind control and the ability to not be physically hurt. So far, more than 5 abilities have been summarized. In addition to what we saw today, this person seems to have a way to be immune to the ability to eliminate some strange events. He has at least 6 different God-given abilities. The girl's analysis was so insightful that Lao Fang and Huang Mao on the side were both fluctuating. I never thought there would be such a person in the world who has so many abilities. It's incredible. The yellow-haired man said with a changing expression. His ability is also an ability to ignore all damage. Basically, when he is in the state of ability, he will not be affected by most abilities. However, once he is involved in such a fatal ghost story, he will die after his strength is exhausted. Everyone is very aware of the horror of ghost stories. Its persistence and unsolvability have always been impossible to ignore. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 1226. /U003C, -go -U003E. Old Fang looked at the girl. Sister Qiao, you are the leader of the sect in Furong City. Since this person is involved in this experiment, what do you think we should do? A faint smile appeared on Qiao Mei's face. Don't do anything, just wait and see. Just watch. Read. When they heard this, the two of them were stunned for a moment. Why? Qiao Mei said calmly, Our mission this time is just to collect the ghost stories with real lives and the consequences of integrating the ghost stories without real lives. No matter who they are or what they want to do, it has nothing to do with us. Our purpose is only to collect data. It's just that we need to include this mysterious Lin Yi as an observation object in order to collect more information. The doctor would be very interested in this man. Lao Fang and Huang Mao understood this and were slightly relieved. In fact, they did not want to provoke Lin Yi, this mysterious being. In the mysterious room, the sound of conversation slowly disappeared, leaving only various images flashing on the screen. And Xiao Mei's twinkling eyes, she was observing the entire city. Another day passed in the blink of an eye. At night, Lin Yi stayed in front of the floor-to-ceiling window. In the end, the woman in red did not come to him. In this strange incident, the original rules have not completely changed. The second day was still calm, and there was no new news from the Abnormal Events Investigation Bureau. It seemed that the strange rumors about the woman in red had subsided. However, at 8 o'clock in the evening, Zhao Hongxia came to Wanchaiwu again. Lin Yi looked at Zhao Hongxia. What? Will that freak incident happen today? Zhao Hongxia nodded slightly. Yes, the fluctuations in this strange incident have increased. This is a sign. Lin Yi narrowed his eyes slightly when he heard this. He was curious about how the Abnormal Events Investigation Bureau judged the signs of strange incidents. At least so far, he has not seen any information that seems to be a sign. He looked at Zhao Hongxia and asked curiously. I'm curious, how did you detect these signs? So far, I haven't noticed anything at all. Zhao Hongxia glanced at Lin Yi and shook her head slightly. This is a secret, related to the secret of the Abnormal Event Investigation Bureau. So I can't tell you. Lin Yi nodded when he heard this. Okay. It seems that the Abnormal Event Investigation Bureau also hides a lot of secrets. The two of them sat here quietly, slowly falling into thinking, waiting for new information. The two didn't wait long, but within an hour, at 9 o'clock in the evening, the phone was already ringing. Zhao Hongxia answered the phone and after confirming the location, she quickly looked at Lin Yi. Let's go north of the city. Lin Yi's eyes narrowed slightly, and a glimmer of light flashed through his eyes. 10 minutes later, a speeding van stopped on Banbei Street in the north of the city. The street is very dilapidated and has not been repaired for at least 10 years. There were almost no people on the street at this time, and all the shops were closed. There was a carrying pole and two wooden barrels placed at the entrance of an alley, and a woman dressed in red and wearing a mask sat behind the carrying pole. She looked so strange, silent, and motionless. Most people passing by here will unconsciously ignore her, and only a few people will notice her existence. And police cars have appeared around the alley. This area has been sealed off for a long time. More people can't even get close to here. Although many people were wondering what was going on here, most people saw nothing. No one wanted to get close to such an inexplicable person, so no one came to her within 10 minutes. Lin Yi and Zhao Hongxia had already gotten off the van, and Lin Yi glanced at Zhao Hongxia. I'm going to do the final experiment next. Keep everyone as far away from here as possible. Zhao Hongxia nodded, picked up the phone and started to contact. Within minutes, officers cleared the larger area and cleared the large crowd. At this time, Lin Yi passed by the policeman and walked towards the woman in red again. When he stood in front of the woman in red's pole again, the woman raised her head with an indifferent expression, as if she had no memory of him at all, and spoke slowly. Do you want to eat tofu pudding? Lin Yi said with a smile on his face, of course. As he said that, he took out 5 yuan and put it in front of her. A minute later, a bowl of tofu curd appeared in Ian's hand. But this time he didn't eat, but looked at the woman in red in front of him. A weird smile appeared on his face and he continued. Would you like a bowl? After the words fell, Lin Yi's whole body shone with the light of true destiny and perseverance. He poured the tofu noodle in his hand directly into the mouth of the woman in front of him. His hands and tofu directly passed through the opponent's mask. The tofu pudding was poured out of the plastic bowl and fell directly into the other person's mouth. The tofu now left the plastic bowl, and also left the light of true life and perseverance and true life without boundaries. It changed from a state of nothingness to a substance, and then slipped into the throat of the woman in red. This woman's mouth was like a black hole, and as the tofu brain entered it, she fell directly into darkness. After doing all this, Lin Yi retreated a few meters away in an instant, quietly watching the changes of the woman in red in front of him. The woman in red seemed to be still standing there, completely unaware of what was happening. Then, her body began to twist strangely, and the mask on her face was pulled off by her involuntarily. A bloody mouth appeared in Lin Yi's eyes, and at this time, her body seemed to be undergoing some strange changes. Lin Yi's eyes watched quietly, with the brilliance of the true destiny in his eyes. The tofu brain eaten by the woman turned into more than a dozen strange black lines, appearing in the other's body. At this time, these black lines were undergoing strange changes. Originally, the strange lines in the woman's body were rooted in the true destiny, and had a certain regular rhythm. This rhythm changed dramatically with the entry of these dozen black lines. The black lines began to affect each other, and violent collisions continued to occur, looking like these black lines were collapsing. This collapse quickly affected the woman's body, and her body began to quickly crack, including the pole and wooden barrel in front of her. At a speed visible to the naked eye, she was turning into countless pieces, and finally collapsed. All this happened in just 1 minute. At the same time, a faint white light appeared in front of Lin Yi, and there was a true life covered with black lines, so conspicuous. \U003C, \U003E. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 1227. They were all floating in the air, but were fading rapidly, and Lin Yi had already grabbed them with both hands. Reading. The white light directly merged into his hands and flowed into his heart. The true destiny covered with black lines, under the influence of the power of the boundless true destiny and the perseverance of the true destiny, began to become real again from the original illusory state. The principle behind this surprised Lin Yi. He could feel that the true destiny he held seemed to be attracted by some kind of power. And this power would make it disappear in the state of reality and enter some unknown level. Lin Yi felt the consumption of his spiritual wave. It can only last for 5 minutes at most. Thinking of this, he turned and walked towards Zhao Hengxia. In less than a minute, he came in front of Zhao Hengxia and spread his palms at the same time. Can you see it? The true destiny is in the shape of a seed, with some wonderful traces protruding on the surface, which seems to contain infinite truths. At this time, countless black lines grew on this seed, and it did not emit any light, but was just pitch black. Seeing this scene, Zhao Hengxia showed a hint of surprise in her eyes. What is this? Lin Yi smiled slightly. This is the source of all God-given abilities, the true destiny. But now this true destiny has been shrouded by the power of the strange events. These black things are the essence of the strange events. Zhao Hengxia's eyes showed disbelief, looking at the true destiny in Lin Yi's hand. He had never seen this thing before. At this time, Lin Yi frowned, and the light of the true destiny Deja in his eyes flickered. He could feel a wonderful force constantly pulling this true destiny, as if to pull it into another place. Although he used the power of the true destiny to isolate this suction, it only lasted for a few minutes. Since I can't keep it, let it go, but I want to use the power of the true destiny Deja to observe it. Thinking of this, the light of the true destiny Deja in his eyes flickered rapidly. The power of the true destiny boundless and the true destiny perseverance disappeared instantly, and then the true destiny in his hand began to dim and become illusory rapidly. At the same time, in Lin Yi's eyes, the light of the true destiny Deja was running to the extreme. The power of the spiritual wave was rapidly consumed. The huge spiritual wave in his body consumed countless times more than in the past when operating the true destiny in the Blue Star world. At this time, he had almost exhausted all his strength. In just 10 seconds, he watched the true destiny in his hand slowly disappear. In this process, he vaguely saw a faint overlapping space around the true destiny. His eyes were fixed on the overlapping space, as if he wanted to see what was there. In his eyes, he could only see a force that seemed to pass through countless wonderful time and space levels and distortions and connect to the true destiny. There was also a layer of mysterious power that could not be observed. Finally, the true destiny slowly disappeared in this overlapping time and space, as if it had entered a wonderful level. In the last moment when the true destiny disappeared, the true destiny in Lin Yi's eyes operated to the limit of the current spiritual wave, and in an instant, it drained the remaining half of the spiritual wave. He seemed to see a deep and mysterious place in his eyes. It was a dark continent, filled with countless flames, poisonous gases, various terrifying scenes, and endless darkness that could not be seen. And in these countless horrible scenes, he saw the disappeared true destiny. True destiny seemed to have undergone strange changes in that world. A phantom with blood-red skin appeared around it, with disheveled hair, which seemed a bit similar to the strange woman he eliminated. These scenes finally paused when the blood-red figure appeared, and everything ended quietly. Lin Yi took a deep breath, and a trace of solemnity appeared in his eyes. What is that place? How could the true destiny have such a change? It looks like it has become a human again. There are more and more mysteries in this world, and there are too many secrets hidden. Countless thoughts flashed through Lin Yi's mind. He found that Blue Star was really mysterious, and the secrets contained were not what he knew in the past. Zhao Hongxia on the side looked at Lin Yi and asked slowly, "Mr. Lin Yi, what did you see just now?" Lin Yi looked up at her, and a trace of thought appeared on his face. "I did see a lot of things. It's just a secret," he said, and a faint smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Zhao Hongxia paused after hearing this, and the corners of her mouth twitched unnaturally. She knew that the other party had returned the blow to her. She took a deep breath. "Well, if you have any secrets that you want to exchange with us, Mr. Lin Yi, it's not impossible to talk." Lin Yi glanced at her. "This time I helped you solve another case. You may not have agreed on your reward with me yet." Zhao Hongxia looked at him calmly and said, "What do you want?" Lin Yi thought about it after hearing this. "I haven't thought about it yet. I'll tell you when I think of what I want." Zhao Hongxia nodded. "Okay, we owe you a favor for this matter for the time being." Lin Yi shrugged his shoulders and turned and disappeared into the distance. He needed to return to the Wanqi house quickly to restore the consumed spiritual waves. He couldn't stay here for a long time. This time, in order to see the real reason for the disappearance of the true destiny, all the spiritual waves have been emptied. If he stays outside and encounters any danger, it will be troublesome. 20 minutes later, he has returned to the Wanchaiwu. The first thing he did was to enter the basement to start recovery. Without spiritual waves on the Blue Star, he would not feel safe at all. On the spiritual level, Lin Yi's eyes fell on a hazy glow in front of him. This time he directly absorbed all the mysterious light into the true destiny to increase the upper limit of the spiritual wave. The revival of the eternal nature has been delayed by him. In the case of the mysterious doomsday sect creating a fusion ghost story, one's own strength is the first factor. With the integration of the mysterious light, his spiritual wave upper limit directly doubled. And this degree of improvement made his combat power rise sharply. Under normal use, the true destiny can be maintained for at least 20 minutes. At this time, his spiritual wave also quickly recovered to its peak. But at this moment, his brows jumped slightly. His mind and the Wanchaiwu have always been connected. It was already 10 o'clock in the evening, and a figure appeared outside the Wanqi house. Inside the Wanqi house, Brandy and his friends were cleaning, and it was time to close the shop. At this time, they also noticed the figure outside, and they all looked outside in surprise. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 1228. At this time, they have all mastered the martial arts taught to them by Professor Lin Yi, and can easily sense many things with the help of magnetic fields. The man outside was just an ordinary human being, but there was an inexplicable aura surrounding him. They often felt this kind of aura from Lin Yi's body. It was the power of true life. Boom, boom, boom. The other party knocked on the door, several people looked at each other, and Absinthe walked out with a weird smile on his face. After he came to the door, he slowly opened it with a strange smile on his face. "Hello, guest, please come in." Writing this, I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network Rightward Arrow. Although their store was closed, others obviously didn't come here to spend money, but came specifically for them, or in other words, for Lin Yi. The visitor was a man with yellow hair, a frivolous look on his face, wearing a jacket and leather pants, and his whole body was filled with a punk atmosphere. There was a condescending look in his eyes. He looked at the people in the store and said in a calm voice, "I'm here to see your store manager Lin Yi, please ask him to come out." Absinthe looked at the man in front of him and could feel a sense of danger from him. He took a deep look at the yellow-haired man and then said slowly, "Guest, please wait a moment, I will inform the boss." Huang Mao nodded and sat proudly in front of the floor-to-ceiling window, where Lin Yi's seat originally belonged. Everyone looked calm and was still doing their own thing, but they all focused on the yellow-haired man. As long as the opponent makes any change, they will launch a thunderous strike. Although they have long known how powerful the real life is, the opponent's body is still immortal and will also be affected by the magnetic field. It is not that they have no way to deal with it. Moreover, the effect of true life is limited by characteristics, and it is not omnipotent. This is its weakness. They may not be able to deal with Khitan, but Blue Star's true life level powerhouses are not invincible, and they cannot be compared with the true life level powerhouses they have encountered in the past. Lin Yi had already noticed this at this time, walked out of the basement, looked at the Absinthe that was about to come in, and waved slightly. "No need to call, I'm coming." He walked out of the kitchen, where the entrance to the basement was. He took a few steps and sat down opposite Huang Mao, with a hint of calmness on his face. "What do you call this, friend?" Huang Mao looked at Lin Yi, and the trace of pride on his face disappeared instantly, and his whole person became quiet. "Lin Feiyu, a member of the Doomsday Cult." Lin Yi looked at Lin Feiyu in front of him, with a faint smile on his face. "Hello, I'm Lin Yi. I wonder what the reason for this gentleman's visit is." A calm smile appeared on Lin Feiyu's face. "This time Mr. Lin Yi ruined the affairs of our religious group. So I came to see Mr. Lin Yi. I hope you will not interfere in the affairs of our religious group in the future." Lin Yi looked at Lin Feiyu and felt something in his heart. "Did you put your true life into the Tofu Now monster story incident? Why are you merging weird events? Is it for some kind of experiment?" Lin Feiyu's eyes moved slightly when he heard the word real life. Not everyone knows the true destiny, they only learned from the doctor that the source of their abilities is the true destiny. But the person in front of me said the term in an understatement that only they knew. His pupils shrank slightly, and Lin Feiyu's first reaction was that there was a traitor in the cult. But in the next moment, he gave up this idea in his mind, because it was impossible. He took a deep breath and looked up at Lin Yi in front of him. "It's a bit strange that Mr. Lin actually knows his true destiny." Lin Yi looked at him with a smile on his face. "Of course I know the true destiny, and I also know where it comes from." Hearing Lin Yi's words, Lin Feiyu was shocked. The origin of his true life was mysterious and even the commander-in-chief had not told them. It just means that all people are born with true destiny, but only a very small number of people can actually use their true destiny. Lin Yi in front of him said that he knew the origin of his true life, which made him a little hesitant, and he couldn't figure out whether the other party was telling lies or the truth. In his heart, Lin Yi was once again shrouded in a mysterious veil. Originally, he only thought that Lin Yi had mastered multiple God-given abilities, so he was very powerful. But now that Wei Wei has made contact, the information revealed by the other party is somewhat mysterious and unpredictable. Lin Feiyu paid more and more attention to Lin Yi. Lin Yi looked at the man in front of him and smiled slightly. "Mr. Lin, are you here just to keep me from interfering in your affairs?" Hearing Lin Yi's words, Lin Feiyu showed a smile on his face. That was originally the case, but now I am very interested in Mr. Lin Yi himself. We have investigated your past in detail. You were just an ordinary person in the past and never experienced any special circumstances. But after the incident of the human skin mother-in-law appeared, you underwent earth-shaking changes. According to our time investigation on you, everything started on the night when the human skin mother-in-law appeared. An unknown change must have occurred in you. Not only your abilities, but also your knowledge should have been gained that night. Seeing Lin Feiyu's confident expression, Lin Yi smiled slightly. Does that have anything to do with you? It really doesn't matter, but it can become relevant. Last time, Jumper Joan invited you to join our doomsday cult. But Mr. Lin Yi didn't agree. We deeply regret it. This time, in addition to hoping that you don't interfere in our affairs, I also hope that you can consider joining us. Your knowledge and ability can only be brought to the extreme in our doomsday cult. Lin Yi looked at Lin Feiyu in front of him, thought about it and smiled. But I heard that you seem to destroy everything. The purpose and goal is to destroy the entire world and bring the end of the world to the world. Hearing Lin Yi's words, Lin Feiyu's face showed a strange look. Because the end of the world is rebirth. Only in this way can we truly get rid of this corrupt world, otherwise we will be trapped in reincarnation forever. Looking at Lin Feiyu in front of him, Lin Yi's heart suddenly moved. Why do you say you are reincarnated? Lin Feiyu showed a mysterious smile on his face. I can't tell you this easily. Unless you join us, you can get in touch with the truth of the world. Lin Yi blinked slightly. I am not interested in joining any organization. But if you need it, you can come to me and make a deal. I like it very much. Lin Feiyu frowned slightly when he heard the meaning of this. He could see that Lin Yi was really not interested. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 1229. He took a deep look at Lin Yi and said slowly, then just wait, one day you will want to join us. This rotten world will one day be broken. After saying that, Huangmao Lin Feiyu stood up, turned around and walked outside. He was like a ghost, passing through the wall silently, and disappeared outside in a few flashes. Seeing Lin Feiyu's disappearing back, Shirley Sakuragong came to the floor-to-ceiling window and looked outside with a frown. The power of true life is truly amazing. I don't know when we will have a chance to gather our true destiny. Lin Yi shook his head slightly when he heard this. It all depends on your own abilities. I can't help you with matters of real fate. You can only rely on yourself to understand the eternal nature and construct your own true destiny. This is bound to be a very long process, and it all depends on individual ability. Shirley Sakuramiya nodded upon hearing this. Understood, we will do our best on our own. Lin Yi's eyes fell on the sky outside, and a curiosity about the doomsday cult arose in his mind. This organization seemed to be more than simple and knew some information that he didn't know. Reincarnation? It seems there is a lot of information hidden in it. It's really interesting that the mysterious space-time plane where the real life disappears, where the real life can actually change. It looks like the will of life itself has been revived. Why is the true life contaminated and turned into like that? And if the polluted true life disappears behind the blue star, will it enter that hell-like place? What does the doomsday religion's reincarnation mean? Each piece of information that was easy to understand filled Lin Yi's heart with excitement. The unknown is always so fascinating, and the unknown can also arouse his interest. Now the time that my normal true life state can be maintained has been extended to 20 minutes, and there are more things I can do. Another month passed in the blink of an eye. This month, the whole world is quiet, and nothing seems to happen. Lin Yi would study Sanyi Kambai every day. His true destiny was very strange. Use pain to stimulate the other person, and then study his true destiny, constantly analyzing the mystery of his true destiny. There wasn't much progress in a month, it just allowed him to see the general outline of this true destiny. True destiny is composed of approximately 81 eternal qualities, and countless principles constitute a perfect cycle of basic principles. Finally, based on this basic cycle, true life, this incredible power, was sublimated. But the specific analysis will take time, at least 5 months. However, he has discovered a lot of truths among these 81 eternal qualities. It is similar to the eternal nature represented by the immortality. This means that once some truths are similar, then some truths must exist at the same time. These similar principles may be the true essence of these lives. So is that acceptable? I need to find more true lives and find more truths similar to my 6 true lives. Then dismantle them, and finally compare them to find the true immortality principle, and then transform it into a new true life. Although the true life I have is very powerful, it does not mean absolute invincibility and perfection. There may be mistakes in it. With the same model, maybe I can find a true destiny similar to the infinite true destiny. Finally, through comparative analysis, I can find the truth that can constitute perfect infinite power. In other words, the most important resource in this world is life. Their existence is the basis for me to build the true destiny. But there's one thing I need to accomplish first. I want to try to build a perfect true life, because I have never really built a true life on my own, which is a huge loophole for me to build a true life. Thinking of this, Lin Yi gradually had a clear direction for the future. Collect countless true lives, compare and select, and condense the true life that belongs to you. Lin Yi had mixed feelings about the foreign spiritual sutra that took him through time travel. This mysterious scripture paved the way for him, led him from humble beginnings to the present, and changed all his destiny. But from the bottom of his heart, he was wary of this inexplicable power. The existence of this thing always indicates one thing. This thing is man-made and not born. Although he never understood why he owned this thing, he never thought that he was a proud man and that a huge pie would fall on him. All of this must have its profound reasons. But now, after having enough understanding of his true destiny, he has a new mental plan. Only things that are completely created by myself are truly mine. Lin Yi's eyes flashed with determination. Jinglan Grand Theater is located in the center of Furong. It often holds various music and dramas and relies on various performances to maintain its operation. Today, a musical is being held in the theater. The content is Hamlet, a story of revenge, a century-old masterpiece. The interior decoration of the hall is very grand. Although it is not magnificent, it is also majestic and solemn. On the stage was a group of foreign actors, both men and women were very handsome and beautiful, and the whole performance was very exquisite, which made people extremely happy. The soundtrack was magnificent, the actors' expressions were in place, and the lines were profound. At this time, the scene had reached the last step, and Prince Hamlet stabbed the traitor who usurped his throne and killed his parents in the heart with a sword. The music, lines, actions, and light and shadow effects added layer by layer to set off the atmosphere to the climax. Finally, a sword pierced the traitor's chest, and the whole scene stopped abruptly, and the lights were dark. As the lights came on again, All the actors stood in a row on the stage. Then, the curtain of the stage slowly closed. There was warm applause from the stage, and the lights in the field slowly lit up until the entire curtain was completely closed. The audience slowly left their seats, but at this moment, a scream resounded throughout the theater. Ah, murder! A woman in a dress looked at the seat next to her with horror. There, a man was pale, with blood slowly flowing from his chest, but there was no murder weapon on his chest. The theater was in chaos, and the police soon sealed it off, and the body was quickly transported back to the police station. Zhao Hongxia looked at the report on her desk, with a trace of solemnity on her face. What's going on? There's a new ghost story, and the troupe has been replaced. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 1230. This is the third incident this year. Zhao Hongxia felt cold all over. She felt a huge danger that seemed to be spreading on the blue planet. Read. What is going on? A feeling of impending storm surged into her heart, and she couldn't help but let out a deep breath. A meeting was being held urgently. Zhao Hongxia stood in front of Director Bai, Colonel Tai, and Director Zhang, and said with a serious look. The current situation is not good. This is the third strange incident this year. And 2 of them occurred in this month. This phenomenon is too abnormal. I think this matter should be reported to the headquarters. And apply for a global investigation. Director Bai and the other 2 looked solemn as they looked at the content of the report. They all knew very well what kind of consequences might be caused if strange incidents broke out intensively. Because this kind of thing has happened in the past. Especially in ancient times of war, various strange incidents often occurred. Since ancient times, there has been a saying that demons appear in troubled times, but humans in the past did not know what this was, so they could only call it demons. Until now, with the great abundance of materials. Humans have enough power, materials, information transmission capabilities and other conditions. Only then did the Abnormal Events Investigation Bureau appear, and they could have a unified description, unified targeting, unified induction, and large-scale control of these strange events. Formed a huge force throughout the world. The current situation obviously has a huge problem, with a series of mysterious strange events, which is very similar to ancient times. Once a large-scale intensive outbreak really occurs, it will be a disaster that can lead to the destruction of the entire world. Manager Bai nodded heavily. Don't worry, I know about this matter, I will report it immediately. I hope it's not as bad as we think. But this incident must be resolved as soon as possible. If it can't be resolved, we must control it with all our strength. Zhao Hongxia's face was solemn. Please rest assured, I know what to do. At this point, Zhao Hongxia said in a deep voice, there is one more thing. Lin Yi has undergone a psychological evaluation, and it can be basically confirmed that he is a neutral and lawful person. Maybe he is not kind, but he can be used as a trading partner. We can deal with him more and use his power to solve the strange incident. This incident can also be solved by him. I applied for a higher authorization. Pay all the compensation he wants. Manager Bai thought for a moment and said, I will help you apply for this authority. Now the headquarters has also included Lin Yi as a key observation target. His existence has broken many records and attracted a lot of attention. It seems that the above also wants to communicate and contact with him more to get some information, so the application for authority should not be a big problem. I will report to the world headquarters later. I estimate that there should be an accurate reply by this time tomorrow. Zhao Hongxia nodded slightly. That's good. A meeting has ended, and Manager Bai came to a secret office quietly. There is a huge screen here, and he stood in front of the screen and said slowly. Furong City Manager Bai Yifeng, there is a special event report. As his voice fell, the screen changed rapidly. A faint glow shone from the screen and quickly enveloped him. Immediately afterwards, the whole room lit up with various lights. These lights quickly evolved into various different pictures, and a huge conference hall appeared in front of Manager Bai. A large number of people appeared around the hall, all of them sitting in rows of seats, at least hundreds of them. However, more seats were empty, and the seats in the entire conference hall were at least more than tens of thousands. With the arrival of Director Bai, everyone's eyes fell on him, and a radiance shone on him. A huge figure appeared in the middle of the conference hall. It was Director Bai himself. This was obviously some kind of high-tech technology that could bring tens of thousands of people together to hold a meeting across the world. Director Bai said slowly. Currently, there are 3 new strange events in Furong City. It took a few minutes for Director Bai to tell everything that happened in Furong City in detail. Everyone in the conference hall was listening with a serious face. When Director Bai reported everything, there were a total of 5 front seats at the bottom of the hall. In each of these 5 seats, there was a person wearing special black clothes. They looked solemn, each of them was over 40 years old, 1 woman and 4 men. As Director Bai reported the matter, one of them stood up and said slowly, "This is the 78th city that has had more than 3 strange events this year, judging from the documents we have collected and recorded. Starting from this year, the world has entered a period of strange events. This is a very dangerous thing. From now on, all cities' abnormal event investigation bureaus must enter a level 1 alert state. At the same time, all cities must report the changes in local ghost stories every day, and the world headquarters will conduct supercomputing analysis. For the special requests made by your respective cities, we will respond 1 day later. Now, please leave for the time being. The next day is non-meeting time." As the voice fell, all the sounds and images began to disappear quickly, and Director Bai returned to his original position in the light. His face showed a trace of surprise. There are actually a large number of ghost stories in 78 cities, which is incredible. Level 1 emergency, this is the first time I have experienced it in so many years. When Director Bai thought of this, his heart trembled slightly, and a trace of heaviness flashed across his face inexplicably. Furong City was prosperous late at night, and a constant stream of people went from the city center to every corner of the city. In the Wanchaiwu, at this time, the night guests were gradually sparse, and Brandy and the others were also bored to pack up the things in the store. Since their resurrection, they actually have nothing to do. The most they can do is to study the eternal nature. Lin Yi stripped out all the eternal properties of the resurrection and placed them in the basement. It was convenient for them to comprehend at any time, but their comprehension could only capture the eternal properties through the magnetic field. Basically, this was a compulsory course for them in their spare time every day in order to deduce the true destiny.